Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, inshallah, we request if those who are outside, if they can please, inshallah, come inside to the prayer hall. I think, inshallah, today's session is more on point with practicality. What's the practical thing to do? Especially when what was discussed yesterday was virtues, history, the importance, the significance, the deeds one can perform in the month of Ramadan, which is, mashallah, very good. But now we want to talk about the more practical aspect of it and also answer some of the questions that were asked yesterday that we could not have answered. And of course, inshallah, the questions that you have intended to ask us today. So inshallah, for those who are outside, I humbly request if they can please proceed inside. Sessions of such are very important, especially in light of Ramadan, that we enter this blessed month with a broader and better understanding, and of course with a plan to gain something from it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the month of Ramadan, Ameen, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit from this holy and blessed month, Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So like we did yesterday, I would like to request if the brothers can move to the main musalla and vacate the area behind the glass doors for any sisters that may want to come downstairs. So please, if the brothers can move up. The second thing is, any brothers that are outside in the rotunda, I don't think that they can hear me, but just in case they can hear me, you're welcome to come inside. We're getting started. We are going to take questions through text messaging. Okay? So if throughout the talk, if you have any questions, I would like for you to send them in the form of a text to this number. I'm going to give you a number. I want you to record it right now. Write it down, save it somewhere, so that when you have a question, you can send it to this number. The number is 972 379 7624. Once again, it's 972 379 7624. I will receive your question on my phone. I will send it to Imam Azhar's phone as well. And once we have the opportunity to answer your questions, we will try to make sure that we answer as many as we can. Jazakumullah khairan.
Okay, everybody, inshallah, we'll begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربي زدني علما والحقني بالصالحين. سبحانك لا علم لنا الا ما علمتنا انك انت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا الا ما فهمتنا انك انت الجواد الكريم. So once again, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, we'll be covering the three final topics that we had laid out yesterday. For those who were not here yesterday, we had discussed the historical aspect of fasting and Ramadan. We talked about the spiritual aspect of it and the deeds that one can perform in this blessed month. Today, inshallah, we are going to be discussing the jurisprudence of Ramadan, the fiqh of Ramadan. We'll be talking about the practical method of Ramadan, inshallah, in light of fasting becoming a norm in our societies. People are fasting for the sake of their health and for their well-being. Where does the Ramadan fit into that? And lastly, we will end with a plan of action for a good and wholesome Ramadan, inshallah. So I'll begin today with the discussion surrounding the moon. Everyone's favorite topic, right? Everyone loves the moon, right? The moon wars continue to go on and on. Let me say one thing from the get-go. As I said yesterday, but the purpose wasn't to indulge in the discussion, and that is, many people don't understand what the moon issue is all about. Realistically, they don't. They're kind of caught up in terminologies, global sighting, local sighting, calculations. This is all many know. But many of us may not understand what the process is in regards to the moon and how significant it is in our Islam. And do we just look at the moon in Ramadan and Hajj, not in Muharram, Safar, Rabiul Awwal, Rabiul Thani? There's a lot of questions. So what I'm going to do is really go back, break it down, simplify it. It's a Moon 101 course so that you and I can have a better comprehension of this matter. Number one, let us understand that our religion is simple. What is it, brothers? Our religion is simple. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna ad-deena yusr." This deen, Islam, this way of life is easy. وَلَن يُشَادَ الدِّينَ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا غَلَبَهُ. Anyone who tries to make it complicated, it overpowers them, it overwhelms them, it becomes too hard to follow. So the Prophet ﷺ has told us from the get-go, our religion is easy. Let's not overcomplicate it. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. Number two, the Prophet ﷺ warned us from meddling with time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the world. He made the cycle of time. He's made and He's determined months. The 12-month cycle is something that Allah defined. Before there was the Gregorian calendar of January to December, Allah had already determined 12 months. Is everyone with me? That a cycle of time is based on 12 months. 12 months makes a year. 10 years make a decade, and so on and so forth. Now, what is the significance of this year? What's happening in this year? Well, in a course of 360-something days, the sun rises and sets in different points of the earth. The sun doesn't rise direct east and set direct west. The sun rises from an angle of the northeast to the southeast and sets in the northwest to the southwest and west, making our days shorter and longer. Does that make sense? So in winter days, the sun rises and sets from the most shortest point, and in the longest day in the calendar, it rises and sets from the most longest point. In the modern day world, many have adopted and adapted to the sun being the method of calculating time. So we go by a cycle of 31-30, 31-30, 31-30, 31-31, 30, 30. Like this are days. And sorry, it wasn't 31-30. First it was 31-28. And then there's 29 every 4 years. And the reason that we have these leap years and the reason that we stop the clock every millennium for a few seconds is because, even proven by NASA, the sun isn't the most accurate method of calculating time. The sun isn't. The most accurate method of calculating time is the moon. And that is why the Jewish calendar and the Muslim calendar continue to follow the moon. Now we know from the lunar calendar, there is no leap years, there is no stopping time, because the birth and the end of the moon is precise. It is precise. It is so accurate. After the 28th day, between that, the moon disappears. Now some people think the moon really disappears in the universe somewhere. No, the moon is still there. What happens, it becomes in a point where the reflection of the sun is no longer on it. Does that make sense? And so it takes a day and a half or so for the reflection of the light of the sun to come back onto it. And so when the reflection of the sun comes back onto it, that is what we call the hilal moon. What do we call that one? The hilal. That's the crescent. Now the moons will always start from, if we look at a clock, it will start from 1 to 7. That's how it will be. Let me do to explain to you this way. It will be like 1 to 7. It would sometimes be like 2 to 7. It might be 3 to 8. It's always going to be like this, the crescent, right? It's going to be like on this side. Whereas at the end of the month, if you come Fajr in the morning at the end of the month, like this week, you'll see that the crescent's on this side. Because it's phased itself into the Badr, it's become the full moon, and then it becomes the 15th moon, and then it starts deteriorating, going smaller. So the phase of the moon is it starts from the right to the left, and it grows. That's like 7 days, and then 14 days is full, then 21 days is half again, and 28 days it's gone. Does that make sense? So this is what the moon is all about. And the moon, even according to NASA, is the most precise way of calculating time. Now, when the moon disappears and reemerges, what is the standard for determining the new month? Is it the birth of the moon, or is it the sightability of the moon? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made it very clear. صوموا لرؤيته وأفطروا لرؤيته فإن غم عليكم فأكملوا عدة شعبان 30 يوما. The Prophet ﷺ said, fast the month of Ramadan by seeing the crescent. Because as I just told you, a new month commences when the crescent is seen, which means there is a reflection of light on the body of the moon, which determines the beginning of the month. If you see it, you fast. And when you see it again, the crescent, you break your fast. What does that mean? We fast from the first day for 30 days consecutively without eating? No. Sumu, start the process of fast when the crescent is seen, and then you stop fasting. Aftiru here does not mean iftar. It means you stop the cycle of Ramadan when you see the next crescent moon. Does that make sense? فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. If it is cloudy, if the atmosphere is such that it does not allow visibility of it. Now remember, ru'ya, ghumma. See, can't see. The Prophet ﷺ is making it very clear. You see it, you start. You see it, you stop. If you can't see it, فَأَكْمِلُوا عِدَّةَ شَعْبَانَ. Complete Sha'ban 30 days. Is everyone with me? Now tell me, is that hard or is that easy? Anyone? Is it hard or easy? It's a very easy formula, right? See it, do it, don't see it, don't do it. It's very simple. But the problem here becomes two things. Now let me say one thing before I go into the problems. There is no way any Islamic month can be consecutively the same amount of days 3 times. So why don't we have a fixed calendar? 31 days January, 28 days February, 31 days March, 30 days April. Why is it like that in the Islamic calendar? Because it all goes down to when you see it. But know this, that Islamic months are either 29 days completed or 30 days completed. There is no 28 and there's no 31. Is everyone with me on this? So just say Rajab was 30. Rajab was 30. And Sha'ban ends up becoming 30. We can say with the highest level of guarantee, but not to announce, Ramadan will be 29. Why? Because if you fail to see it the first month, Rajab, you fail to see in Sha'ban, in Ramadan, because 2 days, it was born. No one is doubting the birth of the moon. Even at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they knew the moon was born. It's not like they were crazy people now with the billah. Sometimes like, oh, I have an app. I could put in the sky and I could know. You know, they knew the names. Practically, we made the names of half of these constellations and stars, and we made navigation. People navigated the earth not with their mobile apps, but with their brains. We knew these things. These things were introduced. Now they've just been modernized. They knew when the moon was born. That's not the issue. The Prophet ﷺ said, see it. Is everyone with me on this? So, if 2 months are 30, the third month's going to be what? And if 2 months are 29, the third month is going to be? Do we have a 28 anywhere? 31? Just say, for example, it comes in books of fiqh also. You started in India. Fasting, just giving an example. And you came to America. And in India, you started 1 day late. Okay? Are you with me? You started 1 day late. And you came to America and they ended 1 day early. So America did 29 fasts, but you did how many? Are you going to make Eid? No. You will fast 1 more day. Because for you, it's not Eid. You have not completed. The month has to be 29 or 30. It cannot be 28 or 31. Similarly, if you're in a position where you've already fasted 30, and you went to a part of the world that's not doing Eid that day, they're doing Eid the next day, you cannot fast the next day. Your Eid is done. Why? 2 things. One is the number of days, and number 2 is the sighting of the moon. Now the problem here is, it's not possible on the first day, the birth of the moon, for the moon to be seen all over the world. It is what? Not possible. I don't care how much we want it, it's not possible. Why so? Because the moon is born according to global time anytime. It could be born 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock in the evening. It can be born at any time. It doesn't have a fixed time. The moon doesn't come out every month a fixed time. You understand that? It doesn't come on a fixed time. Number 2, it usually emerges from the southern or northern hemisphere. So usually in the last few years, we've been banking on Peru, Chile, South Africa, the southern countries to see the moon. Why? Because when the moon is born at a certain time, it may be born off the coast of Africa. Okay? When it's born, it can be seen after 11 to 12 hours. I have not heard of someone sighting the moon below 10 hours. What does that mean? The moon after 27 days became a dark circle. No light on it. Now when it was born, it comes back into its cycle of time. Now the moon has to be a certain distance away from the sun for the light of the sun's reflection to be visible to the naked eye. Does that make sense? The moon is now born, it kind of passes around the sun, and now as far as it goes, you'll see the crescent. And then when the moon, if you notice on a 14th or 15th night, when the sun sets in the east, you look to the west, the moon is rising. When the moon is in the furthest distance from the sun, it completely covers it with light. But when the moon is closer to the sun only has a sliver. Now every day when the sun sets, the moon is a bit further. Now you see more light. Then it's a bit further, you see more light. It's a bit further, you see half of it. It's a bit further, you see 3/4 of it. And then it's on the opposite spectrum. Does that make sense? That's why on the 15th or 16th night of the moon, if you were to wait 20 to 25, now 40 minutes, and look at the west, and you see that moon rise, it is orange, it is dark yellow, it's humongous. Right? Based on where the moon is and how complete reflection of the sun has come on the moon, which is on 2 opposite ends. So number 1, the moon is born. We know when it's born. So if it was born in Africa, it will take 10 to 11 hours for the light on it to be seen. That means we can calculate by the time it hits Arizona or California, there's a chance, the first chance in the world for the moon to be seen. So now, what's happened is that many countries, including us, we look at all the graphs and charts to see what it may end up becoming. But we don't jump the gun and make a determination based on the birth or a calculation, because number one, birth of the moon was known, so determining the month by the birth is flawed. And number two, determining that it is by its cycle of where it's going to be, this is also flawed. We wait to see the moon. Now, for example, inshallah, next Sunday, most likely, the moon will be seen in majority of the world, based on the calculation charts out there. So we can start preparing and saying, not with determination, we can say that insha'Allah, the moon will be seen somewhere, and thus we will say Bismillah and begin. Now, if the moon was seen in the west, do you think Saudi follows it? Do you think do you think Asia or Australia or New Zealand follow it? No, because there's only so long that they can wait, and they make a determination to wait till the next day and start. In a similar fashion, as much as we here want to see unity, we need to understand that there will never be global unity, but there's a possibility of there being local unity. Alhamdulillah, last year, all the Collin County Masajid came together and they signed a document that we will here start Ramadan and complete it and celebrate Eid together. Based on what? Based on the criteria that everyone decided upon. Now let me explain to you what this criteria is. For the years in the past, how many of you remember that a determination was made for Ramadan or Eid at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning? You all remember that? You know how frustrating it was? Those house phones are ringing off the hook because you couldn't silence all the phones. And people were saying, oh, no, it's Ramadan tomorrow. You better wake up for steady. Or it's Eid tomorrow. And you're like half dizzy, like, what am I going to call my boss? How am I going to let my workplace know? How am I going to let the school know? It was very unprofessional. And the reason was because we took the method of citing and we made it complicated. Some said local sighting, some said national sighting, some said global sighting. At that time, global sighting wasn't very popular. Why? Because we didn't have global communication resources with internet and phone as we do now. Does that make sense? So what happened was, people stuck to their ways. To some, local meant, if I see it in Plano, then it's Ramadan. If I don't see it in Plano, it's not Ramadan. Some felt local was Texas. Some said it would be Central America. Okay? We had a lot of these confusions, and that caused a lot of problems. But what happened is, everyone tried to follow sighting. We know at the time, it was after the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, that Makkah and Medina did Eid on 2 separate days. And when they confronted each other, one said, well, we saw it, and the other said, we didn't see it, and thus they went according to that. Everyone with me on this? But what is the best route is to take global sighting, now that we are connected with the world, and we could see if the moon was seen in Africa, if it was seen in the Caribbean, if it was seen in Guyana, if it was seen in Chicago. We can follow that trend, inshallah, based on the pattern. While global sighting was becoming the norm, another thing popped up 12 or 13 years ago. It was called calculation. And calculation was, guess what? We can't do this thing anymore, so we're just going to write down a calendar and follow it. Everyone's with me on this? We'll make a calendar, we will predetermine the date for the next 20, 30 years, and all Muslims have now time off from work, and they could get unity and so on and so forth. But the question now emerges is, we've opened Pandora's box to the same problem we had with sighting. Sighting, everyone defined it according to their criteria. What is local? What is national? What is the matla, the horizon that I will accept? Now calculation is doing the same thing. Are we calculating the birth of the moon? The sightability of the moon? What are we calculating? Are we calculating it based on where we are, or the people before us, or the countries after us? What are we doing? So this also is quite flawed. For example, Egypt, their claim is that if the sun sets before the moon sets, because remember, the crescent moon is only up for like a few minutes on the first day. You know why? Because the sun and moon is so close. As soon as the sun sets, the moon sets right after that. So you'll be lucky to see anything if possible. The second day is a bit further, so after the sun sets and the color of the sky starts becoming white and dark, you'll be able to see the crescent moon easier. So according to Egypt, is if the sun sets right before the moon sets, it's Ramadan and it's Eid. Turkey follows the calculation method. 5 countries follow Turkey. Saudi Arabia still has its method. Unfortunately, the Saudi method keeps on changing. We sometimes hear sighting, we sometimes hear claims, we sometimes hear just a decision. But alhamdulillah, now they've made an observatory even in Makkah Mukarramah. Have you all seen that clock tower? If you pay 150 riyals, there is actually like a theme park thing inside the clock tower mall where you can actually go up to the top. They've made an observatory there. And actually teaches you about the constellations, the stars, everything's beautiful. It's really nicely done. So now that they are following the sighting of the moon, I think there's now going to be conflicting dates. You're going to see people who follow one day and people who follow another day. Again, do not lose hope or get upset. It's just part of a process. But we felt here we can do it. So alhamdulillah, this year again, we signed on a document. We're waiting on 1 or 2 more masajid. And we have eased the criteria by removing the clause of optical aid. Last year, the clause was that if people see with naked eye, not with a binocular or telescope. We have removed that clause that if it's seen with a binocular, if it's seen with a telescope, then inshallah we will accept it here and we will continue to go accordingly. Inshallah, this week, Sheikh Arsalan and I will be sending out an email to the community to inform them what the chances are for Ramadan and what the chances are for Eid. Let me give you a heads up from now. Let me give you a heads up from right now. There's going to be a clash in Eid. There's going to be 2 days for Eid. And we will follow based on our criteria, inshallah. And one thing that hurts me when it comes to calculations, this is my personal opinion, when I look at the Islamic calendar that says these are the calculated dates, and I look at the Staples calendar that's on my desk, matter of fact, the Staples calendar is more precise in saying when Ramadan and Eid is in comparison to our Islamic calendar. Again, what is the criteria? There's some issues there. So if someone who is your relative or friend is starting Ramadan on a different day or doing Eid on a different day, alhamdulillah, that's fine. I tell people, remember one thing. The more Eids we have, the more good it is for us. You know why? Because people should see our celebration. The Prophet ﷺ said that when the day of Eid is, you dress up, you say the takbir, and you go from one route, and you come back home from another route. Display to the people your happiness that this is your day of celebration. So mashallah, if we want to have an Eid on Tuesday and Wednesday, mashallah. But again, let us not go to a point where we're saying, you're wrong and I'm right, or I'm wrong and they're right. Everything is based on the scholars' discussions. We have made a commitment to make it as professional as possible, seamless and stressless as possible for the communities. And inshallah, we will model this from here forward across this city and across the state, inshallah. So this is basically an overview about the moon and in regards to the moon. Now we're going to go over to the jurisprudence. Before I do that, I just want to talk about the fasting dates and times. Many people still, as we heard yesterday, believe fast begins at sunrise. Yes, we heard that yesterday, right? Fast does not begin at sunrise. Let me tell you a story. In our masjid, we had one brother who used to always do etikaf. He was from Pakistan. His name was Thani Darsa. Thani Darsa, may Allah give him Jannah. Everyone say Ameen. Nice elderly brother. He would do etikaf sitting by the window. There would be a cover for him. Food would be provided. That's where he was. One day when I was visiting from school, I was there in Ramadan. I sat with him after Fajr, and he was eating and looking out of the window. So I said, Thani Darsa, Aaj roza nahi hai, you're not fasting today? He goes, no, I'm fasting. The sun hasn't risen yet. This man was in his 70s. And he thought, because we don't talk about these things, he thought that, You could fast whenever the sun rises. And when I had the Imam confront him and explain this to him, he was crying for days. That my whole life I made a mistake. We all gave him hope that no, Allah will forgive you. It was a mistake. It's a genuine mistake. But imagine the pain that he felt that, I just kept on eating after Fajr until I saw the sunrise. So it's not sunrise, it's the break of dawn. Now all of us may have different apps on our phone that show us different times of Fajr's beginning, right? The Isna time is based on 15 degrees. Karachi, 17 degrees. Muslim World League, 18 degrees. What is all this? What does this mean? Because for us, do I stop eating at 5:15 or do I stop eating at 5:35 based on 15 degrees? Or do I stop eating at 5:05 based on 18 degrees? What do I do? People are confused. People are legitimately confused. So let me give you two simple solutions. The calendar that we have here has been decided for all of Calden County, all our masajid. What we have done is follow the best route of ihtiyat, which is precaution, because we believe that at 17 degrees and certain seasons, the break of dawn occurs. Could anyone tell me what break of dawn means before I move forward? What is break of dawn? The first light on the horizon. So the horizon, when you look at it, it's pitch black. Which side are you looking at? Yeah, but board of which side? Northeast, southwest? East, right? Because the sun is coming, right? So now, when the sun is way below, look at this. This is east here. The sun is down here. This is called 18 degrees. According to some, when the sun is here, light starts breaking on the horizon. So over here, you'll see light breaking. Some say no, 17 degrees, you'll start seeing light here. And according to the ISNA calculation, when the sun is at 15 degrees, you'll start seeing light here. So the determination of the time, the difference is almost 30 minutes. 25 minutes. From 18 to 15 is 25 minutes. And some months of the year, 15 makes sense. Some months of the year, 17 makes sense. But based on our location, our longitude and latitude, you cannot say one thing fits the whole. The scholars had did it before. This year when I came in last year in October, we combed through it again and we determined that, mashallah, these are the right times for our location. Our location. So, when you see Fajr starts at 5:11, it's best to stop eating when? 5:10. Yeah, 5:10 is good. Once you start hearing the adhan of this one, then you stop, right? Now, people say you should stop eating 10 minutes before. It used to be on calendars. Alhamdulillah, we removed it from our Ramadan calendar. We don't have it here. What it is that 5 to 10 minutes before, you should start wrapping up, rinse your mouth, brush your teeth, so that there's no food left in your mouth. Don't keep on stuffing your mouth till 5:11. When adhan goes off, now you're like, okay, it's already in my mouth, let me just swallow it. No. It should be down, washed out by 5:11. This is when it comes to the beginning of the fast. Don't try to play these games. Well, I woke up late today, I'll just follow Isna time today, eat for 10-15 minutes more. No, just try to stick to something. Alhamdulillah, a lot of thought has gone into these calendars. And if you haven't noticed, all the masjids in Calden County, if you're in any masjid, the prayer times are the same. So if Isha here is at 9:30 and you're in Epic and you are around the area, you want to go pray Isha, you don't have to call or check their website for Isha time. What time is Isha there? 9:30. You go to McKinney, what time is it? 9:30. All the masajid, mashallah, same congregational time so that everyone here knows they can go to that. The last point is breaking the fast. Now some people say, I really don't know if the sun has set properly because there's a lot of light in the horizon. So I'm going to wait another 5-10 minutes. Some people have already made their phones 3 minutes after. Some people follow 5 to 10 minutes. It is undesirable, makruh, to delay the breaking of your fast for any reason. The time ends. Does that make sense? So, how this time is determined, in the entire Calden County, we have a 1-minute difference in sunset. For example, the sun sets in Epic 1 minute, I think, after that it sets in Frisco. So what we have done on this calendar is put a 2-minute buffer zone. The 1 minute, if sun sets at 8:10, we've made it 8:12. putting in respect the other masjid that sets 1 minute after, and then giving 1 minute buffer zone just for the sake of surety, right? That this is done. If not, when the sun sets, it takes 1 minute for the sun to touch the horizon and to get below the horizon. In 1 minute, the sun touches and goes below the horizon. It's done. Doesn't matter how bright it is outside. If the sun's head, the sun is gone below the horizon, your fast is over. It's done. Break your fast. Break it with a sip of water, break it with a date, break it with a cookie or a chocolate bar. Break your fast because now your fast is done. So these were two things I think I needed to cover. And inshallah, I'm going to give the Sheikh Arsalan, who's going to make us do some exercise, I believe. And then we're going to start our fasting, the jurisprudence of fasting, inshallah.
Alright, everybody stand up, inshallah. Just to help the blood flow a little bit, and move your legs a little bit. You can stretch for just about 30 seconds. And can somebody please turn off these fans? I'm freezing over here. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. You can sit down, inshallah. Alright, just in case some of you came a little bit late, if you have any questions about what we're talking about, or any questions related to fasting, Ramadan, Taraweeh, Moon, you can send your questions to us via text message. I will give you a phone number that you can send your questions to. I will receive your question and I will share it with Imam Azhar as well. The phone number is 972-379-7624. I know there are also people live streaming this. So once again, the phone number is 972-379-7624. So let's talk about the fiqh of fasting. Okay, inshallah. It's a big topic. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible, inshallah. First of all, everybody has to know, every Muslim has to know that the fasting of the month of Ramadan is an obligation. It is not an option. It is fard. And anybody who denies this has committed kufr. Anybody who denies that fasting the month of Ramadan is fard has committed kufr. This is ma'lum min ad-dini bid-darura. So, what are the pillars of fasting? What are the integrals, the absolute essentials of fasting? Two things. Number one, avoiding the things that break the fast from dawn to sunset. And what are the things that break the fast? We'll talk about that, inshallah. But basically, food, drink, and sexual intercourse. Okay? So, avoiding those things from dawn to sunset. And Imam Azhar already talked about what's dawn and what's sunset. Okay? The second essential of fasting is intention. Intention. I have to have the intention that I am going to fast today as the day of Ramadan, as a fard fast. Okay? Now, as we talk about fiqh, I'm going to tell you the different schools of thought. My intention is not to confuse you, but just in case there are people here who follow different schools of thought, I want to tell you what your school says. And also so that you are familiar with the fact that there are differences in opinion, so that if you see somebody else following another opinion, you don't condemn them. Okay? So if you follow a particular school of thought, just focus on your school of thought. And don't worry about what all the different other opinions are. Okay? But I'm going to present to you the different opinions. So, according to the Hanafi school, and the Shafi'i school, and the Hanbali school, according to the Hanafi, Shafi'i, and Hanbali school, you have to make the intention every day. You can't just make it at the beginning of the month for the entire month. No. You have to make it every day. Now, by when do you have to make the intention? According to the Hanafi school, you have to make the intention before midday. And according to the Shafi'i and Hanbali schools, you have to make the intention before dawn. Okay? So, if I wake up, let's say, in the morning, and I don't have the intention to fast, but then, around after Dhuhr time, I haven't eaten or drank anything, so I'm like, you know what, I'll just fast today, the month of Ramadan. It's too late. It's past midday. It's too late for me to make the intention now.